What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Jam Podcast. It is your host, Juan Hollywood Hathaway, and we have a phenomenal episode for you today. This is our Father's Day special with our very special guest, Coach Khalil Shakeel out of North Carolina, the owner of Ambition Boxing Academy. This episode is a phenomenal episode, fire. We dedicate this episode to all the fathers out there and to all the guys who are becoming fathers. He drops a lot of gems, a lot of powerful testimony in which he provides. And it's just, this one touched my heart. It touched the entire cast's heart. Myself, Mo, this is by far one of the most enjoyable interviews I've ever done. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Another edition of the Jam Session. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Jam Session. It's your boys, Juan and my man, Trey Mosby. What's going on, Mo?
Yes, indeed, man. Doing well, man. Doing well. Blessed. Keep grinding. Keep working. And just trying to make my way, navigate through the week. Been very busy as usual, but I'm fortunate. I know people wish they were in my position to be busy and be working and be able to provide and care for a family with all the different avenues that I have going. So I'm very fortunate and blessed.
Word. I see you got the Celsius hat on. Which
flavor? Yeah, man. I represent, man. I got some contacts over there at Celsius, you know what I'm saying, that provide the gear. So I appreciate that.
They didn't give your boy one. So what you Mo?
Right, we'll work on it. We'll talk offline.
All right, there you. All right. See how you do me, y'all? He sent up deals behind your boy back. Now this all good. Mo, this is a special episode for us, man. This is our Father's Day episode. This is something that you and I talked about that we needed to do and get a perspective from the fathers. We got a very, very, very special guest on today, which we'll introduce here shortly. But before we get to that, man, like Mo, all of us are fathers on here. Myself, you, our special guest. Like, tell me one thing you enjoy the most about being a father.
But I'm going to keep it real brief. I want to give opportunity for Coach K to speak. So for me, it's been important to be a good father. The dynamic, again, we've talked about it in prior podcasts about my relationship with my father and my upbringing. And so how important it is for me coming from a single parent home is to be a father to my daughter and really give her what I didn't have. And not in the way of always physical items, but just being there, in times of need to nurture, to teach, to coach, to lead, to just be a father, presence in the house whenever she has difficulties and as she continues to grow. She's a preteen now. So, that dynamic between her and her mother, they start to butt heads a little bit more. And that's where I can kind of step in and kind of lay the law down like, hey, no, we're going to do this. We need to do that. Hey, clean your room. We're not going to watch TV or get on your iPad until that room's clean. You need to finish your homework. Those things like that from a father perspective that I didn't have, that I can tell, not just in my own life, but in most children's life, creating that level of structure in the household gives the child an opportunity to be as successful as they're going to be. It's not foolproof, but the statistics have shown that those who have two parents in the house, and specifically their father in the house, tend to do a little bit further and do better in life.
Yeah, right on, man. Yeah, I couldn't disagree with anything you said, man. I'm coming from a different standpoint in both aspects of life. I was able to have my mother and my father in my life. I remember all the lessons he taught me, and now that I'm a rather newly father, I take those lessons that I learned from him and I pass them down to my son and put my own little twist on it. It's amazing to see him respond to, the instructions that I give him. And I see myself in him. And I always tell myself, have a little grace on it. He's only an old child. But you know what I mean? They're learning at that age. And it makes you a lot more, I don't want to say softer, but it does make you softer in the sense that, you were once a child. And I was thinking about how did my daddy respond to me when I was his age? So it just, like you said, it brings a different avenue. It puts a different fire underneath you, what you do in life, your goals and things like that, because it's not just about you anymore. You have someone dependent on you. And just to see those big Patton Hathaway eyes looking at you, and that curly hair that he got, it'll change you, man. But we got a special guest on today, though, that has a phenomenal story. I was fortunate to meet Coach Khalil when I was in Fort Bragg. He was actually one of the boxing coaches that I went to. In fact, he was the only boxing coach I knew in town. Like anytime I would ask someone about what should I go to learn, specifically boxing, they always brought up ABA. I was like, ABA, what's ABA? And it was Coach Khalil. So that's how I knew Coach Khalil, maintaining a relationship with him throughout the years. And he's just a phenomenal person. Learned a lot about him. And me learning about him gave me even more respect that I had for him already in regards to his testimony. So I hope you guys really, really enjoy our special guest. A little bit about him real quick. So he's gonna come off as this very soft-spoken man, but don't let that fool you. Let me give you a little bit about his background. This man was a two-time regional Golden Gloves champion, a two-time All-Army boxing member, and not to mention he's a veteran, U.S. Army. He was a three-time he's a three-time North Carolina Golden Gloves champion. His professional record was 16-7. He was a three-time All-Army ForceCom champion. He was a semifinalist in the Eastern Olympics trial, and he was a WBF, that's the World Boxing Federation lightweight champion. So this not to wait. I'm leaving something else off, y'all. This man got a lot. He's in the Fort Bragg Boxing Hall of Fame. And not to mention, he was the first person in North Carolina to win the boxing title whenever they established the boxing commission back in 96, if I'm not mistaken. But I want you guys to get your pencil, get your paper, lock in, because we have a phenomenal, phenomenal guest from North Carolina, Ambition Boxing Academy's coach, the one and only Coach Khalil Shakeel. Welcome, sir, to the Jam Center.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yes, sir. Man, look, I got a ton of questions we have for you. You have a phenomenal just testimony, man. And this is your platform today. You tell us everything that you want us to know about Coach K.
All right. Let me see where I'll start. All right. Originally, I'm from Philly, North Philly to be exact. Okay. Not West Philly like Will Smith. I'm from North Philly. Grew up, highly urban area, no dad around, drug infested neighborhood, like you hear a lot in the urban areas. And then what happened, what landed me in the Army is, well, for one, I was doing terrible in school. All right. And this one particular night, man, I'm like, man, I got to do something with my life. I go to school, talk to one teacher who really became a motivation for me. Her name was Jeanette. And she says to me one day, she said, you got to do something with your life. You got to get out of here. So I'm struggling now to get out of school. And not because I wasn't smart, just because everything that was in our household wasn't for, to be successful. So I ended up going to school all day my senior year, all night. I had 4 night classes the whole entire school year. And I had like 5 classes during the day. I ended up, making it. And even now today, honestly, I show my 2 sons, my daughter, my report cards, and I'll be having a discussion. They're like, wow, Dad, that's terrible. Like, really, it was that bad. So at that point, I said, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go into the Army. And I have a great relationship with my mom at that time because my mom was addicted to crack cocaine. So when you have a family member who's addicted to crack or some type of drug, they are not that person who they once were or who they should be. So our relationship was very, very strained, man. So I ended up going to the Army, spent about 8 years in the Army, did some boxing while I was there, and started really got myself together once I got into the Army. That's when I started meeting mentors to tell me, do this, do that. My biggest dream was I was stationed in Germany first, and I said, I got to get to Fort Bragg. So I followed everything that was going on at Fort Bragg boxing. By the time I came to Fort Bragg, I knew guys were on the team. They're like, yo, how you even know my name? Like, because I followed you while I was in Germany. So, I ended up in Fort Bragg, man, started boxing and went from there. Everything just started, my life was, once I went to the Army, though, my life started getting better.
Yeah.
I was around people who could help guide me in the right manner to say, this is what you need to do. That's what you don't want to do. Back then, you do the wrong thing, Uncle Sam had something for you.
Yeah.
You had to follow the rules. Yeah, man, landed in the Army, Fort Bragg, as you mentioned. I'm in the Fort Bragg Boxing Hall of Fame, decided to turn professional. And during the time when I was turning pro, me and a couple other guys, we were signing with somebody out of Jersey, but couldn't find out they were scamming. And I said, well, I'm going to continue. I got out the Army. I moved back to Philly. And I was training out of Front Street Gym. If you guys remember the movie Creed, that's what they did Creed out of.
Yeah.
I was training out of Front Street Gym. And I was signing with a gentleman named Russell Peltz, who was a big-time promoter in Philly, well known in the boxing game. And at the time, my trainer, his son was in the same weight class as I was. and he decided he wanted to turn pro. So now we had a conflict of interest. So I continued to train, and it was no longer comfortable. So what I did, I came back down to North Carolina because I signed with a guy out of DC, came back to Fort Bragg, and trained with my Army coaches. And during the process, I was, boxing, doing great, thinking I'm going to be rich one day, those type of dreams. And then one day I realized I wasn't going to be rich one day. So I decided to go to school. So I used my GI Bill, went to school while I continued to box, got my degrees, and, continued to live my life, man.
Man, that's awesome. What did you get your degrees in?
My first degree, my bachelor's in social work.
Okay.
Because I wanted to be able to help people, as they say. My master's in psychology with a focus on child and adolescent development.
Yeah. Now, you've been in the school system for a while too, haven't you?
Yes. I've been in the school system now, man, going on 22 years.
Wow. Man, so you've been embedded into the community then.
Yeah.
Now, tell them a little bit about your gym. I know you have a big camp coming up June 16th through the 20th. Those of you in the North Carolina area or surrounding areas. Coach K, tell them about Ambition Boxing a little bit.
All right, so I have Ambition Boxing Academy. Initially, when I started, it was ABC Boxing Academy, which stood for Attitudes, Behaviors, and Consequences Boxing Academy. And then eventually, I changed it. I'm going to tell you the story how I got it, how my business started. A gentleman asked me to come help. I stayed away from boxing when I retired from it because of all the politics in the boxing. You're just upset now. Yeah. So a gentleman approached me and said, hey, I have a little gym up here, the same location where I'm at. He said, I'd like if you come in to help my trainers train these guys that I have in there. I said, man, I don't really mess with boxing anymore. He said, I'm willing to pay you. I said, okay. So, we sat down, had a little meeting, and we came to an agreement on how much he was going to pay me to come help his trainers. So I started back in, helping young fighters. The first female champion, National Golden Glove champion from North Carolina, I actually trained her, but her old trainer took the credit, which is fine. He wanted to be in the paper. It's fine. I'd already been in the paper a lot. So I'm training. So then the gentleman had a disagreement with the owner of the building. So one day I'm up there and I'm taking my band. What I used to do, let me jump back. On Saturdays, I would bring the youth in there and I would give them character classes. So we would talk about anger management, self-control, self-esteem. I used to do the classes on Saturdays. And part of the process part of it was you had to do the class in order to train. That's something I put in myself. And I actually got that from basketball league. I used to play for Philly, John Chaney, Sunny Hill. On Saturdays, we had to go to the talk sessions. If you didn't go to the talk sessions, you couldn't play that week. And so John Chaney, Sunny Hill is known in the city of Philadelphia as icons in youth basketball. So I had to bring the guys in on Saturdays, and we used to do, different character classes. And used to always be this gentleman on the other side of the building, like fixing it up, like a maintenance guy. So, he'd be fixing it and everything. I just would speak to him when I see him and, keep it moving, teaching classes to these little 8, 9, 10-year-olds. So one day I'm in there taking my bags down. And the gentleman, his name was Mr. Gladney. He said, hey, what are you doing? So I'm taking my bags down. Joe closing his gym. He doesn't have an agreement with the owner. So he said, all right. He said, well, how about you think about opening it up on your own? I said, I don't know if I want to do that. I said, no disrespect. Who are you? He said, I'm the owner of the building. He said, and I own that land over there that McDonald's sit on. I own that. He said, the parking lot behind this building, I own that. I sold the parking lot to the cleaners that's back there. I said, oh. He said, yeah, you never think I own the building because of where you see me in here. Because he looked like a maintenance guy.
Yeah.
I said, yeah. I said, no. He said, I'll tell you what. He said, I hear what you're doing on Saturdays when I'm up here working. He said, I like what you're doing for the youth. He said, how about we sit down and come with some type of agreement and you open this up on your own and Joe will close it because I'm not renewing with him. He said, and you can open it up on your own. So we met, man, sat down, had a great, we came to a great agreement. Wow. We basically went into it like business partners. Yeah. And then and that's when I opened then. And as I said, it opened at ABC Boxing Academy. This was in 2007. And it just continued to grow, man. Had a lot of top fighters, a lot of talented fighters come out of ABC Ambition. I've had in this area, other than military, Fort Bragg, we had a team. I've had the most fighters win all Army, all Air Force, in the service that came out of my little gym. And we just continue to grow. And the thing is, my goal when I started, though, I wasn't really thinking so much about how many champions I could make. I wanted to teach these kids about life. It just said they wanted to tag and say, hey, I also win a box competition. So that was easy. I was like, oh, yeah, I could up the level for you to box competition. But my goal was just to help them, be steered or go into the right direction. That was always the goal. So, but that's how the ambition started. And through the years, I've trained many people. I've had many champions. And even to the day, the guys I have, not my biggest goal for them to be champion. Now we box and we want to win. You know that. But I'm not. When they come in, I'm like, oh man, you the next big thing. I don't care anything about that. I had a young man, and I trained about 7 guys to go to my school where I work. And he said to me that one day, he said, "Yo, coach, man," he said, "man, you did a lot. I got the stuff up on the wall." He said, "Man, I want to be great, man. I want to be great." I said, "I don't even know what that means." So he like, "What?" I said, "I don't know what that means. You want to be great?" I said, "That's just a common saying now. Everybody want to be great." I said, "Your goal should be do the best that you can do." I said, "Your goal should be, I got to make myself, I got to prep with priority." I said, "But everything else gonna take care of itself." I said, "So you saying you want to be great?" I said, "That doesn't really resonate with me, but I understand." I said, "In order to be the best, whatever that is, you got to continue to give your all, man." So that's how I landed in Ambition Boxing Academy. Right now, I started in 2007, and 2025? I'm still here.
Wow.
Sometimes I think about getting a bigger building. The other time, I'm like, I don't want a bigger building. So
Yeah. I like that. I like that spot, man. It reminds me of like a Rocky
yeah,
movie.
now, everybody say that.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
change it, man. Keep it where it's at right there. Nah, I like no, man, Coach K, that I appreciate that you telling us that. Now, I want to dig into it this Father's Day. I know you're a father. I want to ask first question off, like, what is? Tell us a little bit about your experience as a father. I know you have children.
Mhm.
Share us a little bit about your family.
All right. I have a daughter, Brianna. Bree's 25 now. She's in dental school. My son Amir, he just turned 20. He goes to Methodist University. He majors in kinesiology. And I have my son Najee. He just graduated last week, and he's going to be going to North Carolina A&T majoring in engineering.
Mm-hmm.
I call him my band, because Brianna, Amir, Najee. So I call him my band. As far as what it means to me, man, everything in the world. Like I tell people, fatherhood means so much. Being a father means so much to me. I can't even explain what it means to me. You know what I'm saying? The best way I can just describe it is, we need our jugular vein. Without your jugular vein, I'm told you won't live. That's how I feel about my children. Like without my children, man, it's like, oh man. So being a father means everything to me. The unique thing is my daughter, actually, I had joint custody of her for years. Well, from the age of 2, all the way through. I had joint custody of her. And we still had the tightest relationship. She was my road dog. We had outfits, we dressed alike. We both had on our jeans sets, and I was doing her hair. It looked okay for a guy doing your daughter's hair, But yeah, those, man, my 3 children, they mean everything to me, man.
Yeah. Now I know I don't want to get too personal, but I know we talked about it. Now, you actually lost your wife. Was it your first wife?
Correct. Yeah.
Share with us about that and what you went through and what the kids went through and Mo, if you got questions as well, feel free to dive in on this. But I want Coach Khalil to share that experience because I know there's people out there who may have lost a significant other and probably struggling how to get through that.
Right.
You're an overcomer, so take some time. Let's talk about that. The time you lost your first wife.
Okay, so I lost my wife Lynette to breast cancer. She had a rare breast cancer, triple negative breast cancer, and they say mostly ethnic minority women get that rare diagnosis. So to bring you back, like it was 2010, and she kept saying she felt like a little knot on the side of her breast. It was not like a mask. So she kept saying I was kind of sore. So I'm like, okay, we need to go go get it checked out. She went and got it checked out. And I can't remember how much later, but then they diagnosed it. They said, okay, it's breast cancer, and it's actually stage 3. So she had it there for a while. So this was in I want to say August, I believe August of 2010. So with that, we started going through the treatments and everything, and we're having great hope that everything's gonna work out fine. And that as we learn more about it, it's like this is not working out. And some certain things stick. All of it, I remember everything about it. But certain things stick out more than others. The first time we went to go see a doctor, they sent us to a guy down in Fayetteville, and the first thing this guy says was, "You got to understand." He was Indian. He said, "You got to understand that we're all here for a certain amount of time, and God has it where some of us going to live long, and some of us going to pass away." And we looked at each other. We both welled up with tears, and we said, "We'll talk to you later." And we went back to the original doctor, and they started. They said, "Okay, we're gonna find you a specialist in Duke." So at that time, my late wife, she's going through the battle. We're not sharing it with our children yet because we're gonna see if it get better. And my Lynette was the only lady that my daughter had met once me and her mother broke up. So that during the time my mother, I broke up with my daughter's mother, any female I, say saw went out with, I never brought them around my daughter because I said, I don't know if I'm gonna be with you. So since I don't know if I'm gonna be with you, you don't deserve to meet my daughter. And it wasn't a thing like me thinking my daughter was so special, but she was special enough where I was not gonna be bringing different ladies around her. So Lynette was the first woman that my daughter met. So we going through the treatments. We said we're not gonna share it with the kids yet, and then now as to skip through as things getting worse, and we're like, wow, we're starting to figure out this is really getting bad. I started having small conversations with the children. We did certain terms I never used. We never used sick. I never used sick with them, and I did most of the talking. I did just probably about 95% of the talking. I never used the word sick with them. I would say mommy's stomach is upset, and I would say ill. And the reason I never use sick, because for kids, sick is too common. A kid catch a cold, so you feeling sick? That's too common of a word. So you say sick, and then they start connecting that to, oh man, maybe I'm going to pass away when they learn, someone passes away. So I had certain language I used with them, man. And then as we one day we driving to Duke, but now we know that there's a good chance she's not gonna make it. Me and her to have conversations a lot, and one of the times we're laying in our room, and she says, "I'm tired," and by now the cancer ate up everything. Or she had the surgery. I'm sorry, and it just ate everything up over here. So it was like almost like a little hole over here. That's the best way I can describe it. So she's had to clean it and everything. We laying in the bed one night. She said, "I'm tired." I'm like, "Yeah, what does that mean?" She said, "I'm tired." She said, "Babe, I'm tired. I can't do this any longer." I said, "Well, you have to." She said, "But I don't think I can." She said, "I'm just tired, and whatever the Lord has for me, He has for me. I just can't continue to do this." And by now, it's probably been 19, maybe about 19 months, 18 months that she was dealing with this. So we laying in the bed. I just hold her, man. We both crying, and then so as things going on. One day we go see Dr. Malcolm at Duke, and he said there was one cancer, there was one type of medicine they would use that was known to be real strong, right, and some kind of almost start the healing process of breast cancer, but it was too strong for the body. So as it's trying to heal you, it's also breaking down your kidneys, your livers, all your vitals, breaking everything down. So they said we can't use it, and it's expensive. And the medical team, the medical people are about the money. So she couldn't get that anymore. We go see Dr. Malcolm. I'm gonna skip through when he tells us it was over. He says, we walk in, and even to the day I could talk about it and it'd get me emotional. So we walk in, and he sits us down, and he says, the best way I know how to tell you is that the chemo's not working. So I shake my head, my wife shake her head. She said, "What does that mean?" He said, there's nothing else we can do. He said, so my wife says, "So it's over?" He said, "Well, you can continue to take the chemo treatment." He's saying you will get all the repercussion or consequence of chemo, but it's not gonna help the breast cancer. So he said, "But I give you guys time to talk about it." So he leaves out, man. And my wife says, she said, "Babe, I'm tired." I said, "Yeah." So like, "Yeah, babe, I know you are." I said, "I am too." Then she says, "I'm not going to take any more treatment." So I'm like, "What do you mean?" She said, "I'm not going to take any more treatment." She said, "My destiny is to pass away. I'm going to pass away." She said, "I can't take that stuff anymore. I'm sick every day. I could barely get out of bed. I'm weighing like 112 pounds." And my wife probably was, at the time, she's probably like around 160. Like she was a thick woman, not heavy. So she was just thick, thighs, butt, everything. She's weighing like 112 pounds. She said, I just can't take it anymore." I said, "So you know what that means?" She said, "Yes, that means that I'm going to pass away." Now we both in there boo-hooing, right? Then she says, and this is strong. She says, "What I need you to do is promise you'll find somebody that'll love you and the boys the way I love you."
Man.
Yeah, she did. I said, "How can you say that?" She said, "Khalil," she said, "That's my reality, sweetie." She said, "I can't take it anymore." She said, "I know I'm gonna pass away. But I need you to find somebody who can love y'all the way I love y'all." Man, I was boo-hooing like crazy, man. So then Dr. Malcolm finally comes in, and she tells him, what she decided. And he says to me, he says, "Khalil, you in agreement with it?" I said, I'm not in agreement with it, man, but I can't say it because my wife's, she's going through this more than I am. And then she says, how long do I have? He said, we no longer like to make predictions of how long someone has. He said, it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. He said, we no longer make those predictions. He said, but just know the chemo's not working. 2 weeks later, man, my wife passed away. See, it was April 10th when he told her. She passed away April 24th. So when we left the hospital, things started going down fast. Like it was her health had turned, it was going downhill fast. And she's already restricted to a wheelchair. And then we coming in, we're driving. I think that's can't remember the next day I told my boys and Bree that mommy may not make it. So we come back and we have a wheelchair, so we had to go to our backyard. And then we go to the backyard, come in the house, and then Amir, at the time, Amir was 7. He was 7 years old. Naji was 4 years old. And he says, Mom, can I pray for you? So she said, let's sweetie. So we all join hands, and Amir prayed that, Lord, please let my mom live. We can't lose her. Typical stuff. So we all prayed and we hugged and everything. And then 2 weeks later, man, she was gone. So I ended up putting her I put her in a hospital because she got bad. She was getting really bad. We had a bed in the kitchen, in the living room. But every time the kids would get up in the morning, when I getting ready for school, they would peek in there because they were scared that she might have passed away. So they would peek. So eventually I had to move to a hospice location. Before that, when we were trying to prep her, trying to get her better, she had the damage. She had the damage on her, so she couldn't sleep in the bed. She slept on the couch. I used to sleep on the floor. And I had to wake up every 2 hours and give her medicine. Like at 7 o'clock, every 2 hours, I wake up, give her medicine she needs, go back to sleep. This went on every 2 hours for probably about close to a month because all the medicine she was taking. One night, when it spread to her brain, Naji was out there with her on the couch, and she went into a seizure. While him being out there, fortunately and unfortunately, she called. She said, "Go get your dad. Go get your dad." So he run in there into my room. He wake me up. This is before I was sleeping on the floor. And he said, Dad, something wrong with mommy. So I go out there and she's having a seizure. We call paramedic. I get her to calm down. Mayor called 911. Again, 7-year-old, 4-year-old witnessing all this trauma. And they took her to the hospital and told us then that it spread to her brain. So go back, I got her in the room, in the living room. And I decide I can't do this. I don't want my children to continue to wake up scared that mommy might be passed away. And that's the term we always use. We always use passed away, not dead. So I talked to her family because she had a tight-knit family. I said, hey, I'm going to move Lynette into a hospice care unit because of those reasons. Yeah. I moved her there. She was there maybe 3 or 4 days, man. And she ended up, I was there when she was passing away. I just held her hand, watching her take her last breaths. And it's like, as she's trying to fight it, I put my head on her chest, her brothers and sisters around. And I told her just go in peace. So eventually she passes away. I had to come back home and tell my children, that mommy passed away. And I get home, my aunt came down from Philadelphia. When I get home, Amir says, Daddy, where's mommy? So I said, sit down, guys. So I sit them down, explain to them the best way I could that she had passed away. She wouldn't be coming back. Then I had to call my daughter. I called my daughter up. She falls out on the floor because she was living in Durham at the time. And then Amir said, can we go see her? And then Nadi said he want to go see her too. Again, Amir's 7, Nadi's 4. We go down there and I explained to him, once we get down there, what happened. When you go there, mommy gonna look like she's asleep, but she's not asleep. She went to live with God. So, once we get there, I take them into the room to see her. They both give her a kiss on the cheek, man. Then we leave. So that's the story of it. That's the short version of it. But it was a long climb, man. It was a long battle, 22 months. So 22 months of her battling breast cancer. Wow. And the thing, it was tough, but I had to keep moving for my children. So I'm going to work. Family members will come take care of her. Then I take off some days. At the same time, initially, my mother was going to battle lung cancer in Philly. So I would go to Philly for a little while, come back down, and take care of, continue to care for my wife while she was going through all the problems, all the battle with the cancer. So, but it was really rough, man. It was very tough. That's probably the toughest part of my life. I wasn't diagnosed with depression somebody did their own diagnosis. A therapist friend I had said I probably would suffer from PTSD, because of what was happening. But I just said I got to just keep moving. I had to keep moving for my children. I had to just keep going. And that was the goal, man. It wasn't easy, but I kept it moving. I actually take no. I actually turned the notes. I used to take notes of everything. I turned it into a book, and I released a book that October about it. Of course, she did all she could. Now, what am I to do? And it talked about everything we went through in that process. So,
What was the name of that book again? So we make sure people don't miss that.
She did all she could. Now, what am I to do?
Wow.
And now it's on and I know Amazon might have now, but they said no more copies left. But the people who helped me produce it, I found out that they were like, it was sales happening, they were getting the money. But yeah, man, so that's the story. My wife had breast cancer, triple negative breast cancer.
Wow. I know there's a lot of people out there. And that was, man, I was fighting back these tears. That was deep, brother. I can't even put into words what you feeling. Right. But I know just who you are as a person. I know you're an overcomer. You have overcame it. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, like, what is some encouragement words you would give people who have lost a spouse that's out there, who's raising kids by themselves? Like, what would you tell them right there?
I started talking about it to people. I started going to do little group sessions. You go to those. And initially I was going just to be a part of the groups. Next thing you know, I found some of the head of the groups asking me to help get information to people, because when I would talk about it, people would get really, they would really be engaged. First thing I would tell them, man, they gotta, as much as possible, I don't want to say stay positive, but stay strong. If that would be probably a better word. Control what they can control about it. Try to, keep your head as much as possible. But whatever their spiritual religious beliefs is, hold on to the way they can hold on to that help them. Be patient with people, because people who don't understand it sometimes don't know what to say. And probably, the cliche, take one day at a time. Yeah. Take time for themselves. If they're caring for someone who's very ill and may not make it, they got to still find time for themselves. Because that's very important in order for them to keep functioning. So I would stay up late at night after my wife would fall asleep on the couch, and I would put the kids to bed. My wife would be on the couch, and then I would sit in the little like lounge chair I had and just think, man, just meditate. And I did the same thing after she passed away. I would put my sons in the bed, and I had to sleep on their floor. I slept on their floor for probably about 6 months because they was so nervous. And then after the 6 months of me sleeping on their floor, for the next 4 months, they ended up sleeping in the bed with me. Like right now, sometimes I share pictures of them sleeping in the bed with me, because we had a special prayer we did to her. And after they would no longer need me sleeping on their floor, they just moved to my bed. So if you have children, you definitely got to be patient with your children and be there for them. Don't tell them how to do it. You can kind of, first you got to teach them and guide them, but some days just may not be their day. So, you can't tell them like, no, you got to get over it, because it's just not that easy. Yeah. It's just, so I think parents definitely have to be patient with them, and then reach out to people, talk to people who they can connect with, who might have went through some of these experiences. Because people can say, hey, I feel for you, and that's really caring, but sometimes being able to have conversations with people who've been through it, y'all kind of build each other up. Yeah. You kind of, because you're there for each other as a real support team, because you all went through this together. And I met so many people who was going through it, and of different races. I remember I was when Lynette used to get her treatment. One day I'm sitting there and I'm meeting this Asian guy. His wife was going through, she was battling breast cancer. She was like stage 3 also, I think. And me and him just started having a conversation, man. Like, we started looking forward to seeing each other there. We had nothing in common other than both our wives battling breast cancer. That'll make you get real close to somebody fast. Yeah. So now you're going through, you guys have a common denominator. We both may be losing our wife. I don't know whatever happened, because Lynette passed away. But yeah, man, you got to try your best to stay strong, whatever that means. Stay away from the things you think will numb it. Start drinking a bunch of alcohol or doing this, doing it. The things that's going to, when you sober back up, it's still the same situation. Stay away from those, because they're going to just make it worse. Yeah. So that's very important. I'm going to have a drink because when you sober up, your family member is still dealing with that. Now you might end up be dealing with that and a substance abuse situation. So that probably be some of the words, man.
Yeah.
Coach K, I've got a question. Thank you for sharing that story. It's a powerful story, and thank you for that. I know that was a difficult time for you, but a question I would have in that is, being prior law enforcement myself, I did have an opportunity as part of the job to show up to a lot of instances where people would pass for various reasons, and cancer, or just the expiration of their life, so to speak, is sometimes we just have to go to the call. Anytime somebody called where I worked at, anytime they made a death notification, we had to go. So I did experience that. The question I would have: how did that impact your faith? Knowing that all the prayers, all the time you spent asking God for healing and prayer, how did that impact your faith? And what would you say to those who may have lost faith in those instances?
I've never been, as we say, like super religious. I believe in the higher power, but how it affected me honestly is like we're kind of on our own down here. I used to have a thing about, I tell my wife, you don't let everybody pray for you. I don't believe in everybody praying for you. My thing was, I don't know how you live your life. So if everybody come to me and understand, I'm gonna pray for you, I'm gonna pray for you. I had to think, I've always had to think like, I don't really know how you live your life. So what if you're a bad person and you pray for me and God like, oh, you're on their team? Being like silly about it. I'm like, but it affected me in the sense like, I think there's a higher power. To what degree, I really can't say. I think a lot of higher power come from within, how we conduct ourselves, so we can be God-like or we could be Satan-like, for lack of a better term. But it did affect me where I'm like, nah, I can't say that if I throw prayers up there, they're gonna be answered. That's how it affected me.
Right.
And say something, it affected my son Amir that way because he was leaving the hospital one day, and a pastor and some other people out there, they would come to see some of their members, and he said, hey, let me pray for you. I'm gonna pray for you. So he prayed for us. And then when we walked away, Amir said, Dad, he wanted to pray for us. I'm like, right. And he said everything gonna be okay. I'm like, yes. He said, why wasn't everything okay for mommy? I didn't have an answer. But that was a legitimate question for a 7-year-old who said, wait a minute, now you're telling me to pray and pray and pray, and God's gonna take care of us. And I prayed for my mom, and God's gonna take care of us. And my mom is worse off. So, but to answer your question, man, it kind of made me like, I still believe in a higher power of some sort. I believe in positive energy. I believe that if we get sick, then the body's going to do what the body's going to do. I don't necessarily feel that God is going to say, hey, I'm going to take it out of you and I'm going to give it to this person, or I'm going to heal you. I don't really believe in that. I think that once you have it, it's for lack of a better term, it's the luck of a draw. The treatment works or the treatment doesn't. And what I'm saying, I even said this to someone, they wanted to argue. Like, I'm not gonna argue with you. I said, if I pray for my wife, at that time, and she doesn't pass, she passes, and you pray for your wife and she lives, then you're telling me God favored your wife over my wife. Right. And, so we went back and forth for a while. Then it kind of turned to argument. I'm not gonna argue with you about it. Like, this is how I feel. This is how I can live in peace. I'm still a peaceful man. I don't cause any issues. I believe in higher power, positive energy. I don't like being around negative stuff. So I still believe in that sense. But to say, is one person sitting up there saying I'm gonna make you better, I honestly can't say that I believe that.
Right.
Those are my experiences. So.
And that's fair. That's fair. Again, I have a perspective of it, of loss of life, is because, again, from my military experiences, appreciate your service, by the way, from the times I spent in Afghanistan and then went into law enforcement. My perspective on it was looking at, I believe in higher power. I'm more spiritual than I am churchy. And I came to grasp with it just in accordance to God's word, was looking at it from the perspective of, everybody prays for long life, right? Long, healthy life. I started looking at more praying for and believing for a fulfilling life, because we don't know when our time is up. You know what I mean? Obviously, in your scenario, you kind of knew that the clock was winding down, but from the car wrecks that I saw, from the suicides that I saw, from the people who just passed from natural causes or because they were sick, I started looking at life from the perspective of giving me a fulfilling life. That while I'm here, let me impact as many people as I can in a positive way, because you don't know when that last day is going to be, when that last breath is going to be necessarily. So, and I understand your perspective, and again, I commend you, that work you put in being a father. Also, with that, looking from the perspective, you lost your wife. And you still had to go on. You still had to pay bills. You still had to take care of children. How was that dynamic? How was that, being a father after mother has transitioned, having to pay bills, having to work to pay those bills, child care for those children? How did that work for you? Because we hear so many times about how hard it is for women, and we don't really get it here from the male perspective. So I'll let you speak.
Right. Well, I guess initially, you start not really getting behind, but you got to make sure. Because my wife had a real good career, so she worked for the state. So when she passed, you get money for it. Get Social Security after a while. Childcare wasn't really expensive. I worked for the school system, so we had after school care. Probably the biggest thing was when they was coming at us for the doctor bills. Like, hey, this bill will not be covered, and we're still waiting for it to be covered by your medical insurance, so you guys got to pay it. So you're getting bills in the mail, $10,000 and $9,000, getting cell phone bills. I even have to tell them, like, hey, my wife passed away 6 months ago. When she first passed away, you still getting, so those things like that. Like, I'm not, take me to court. I'm not paying that. We had medical insurance, so that part wasn't really hard because we both had pretty promising careers. The toughest part probably was getting her name off of stuff. It just having to be mine now. Calling us, hey, my wife passed away, and now this will be in my name. That probably was the toughest part. The financial part, we were doing okay. So, just being responsible to make sure you take care of everything. And I think I pretty much stayed up on everything. That kind of helped. Try to be the person that say, okay, make sure you get it done the way you need to get it done. Then the toughest part to going to get my kids and just being lonely. That was tough. Now, you're coming home now, just the house is quiet, and you know what happened. 3 months went by, 6 months go by, you're still feeling that loneliness. Like, oh man, this just feels weird. Like, how long should we stay here? Should we move out? Move home? This is different. So that right there was that was probably tough. That was tough, man. You come home and just quiet. It's like, oh man, what we gonna talk about? So that was bad.
Question to that, because I think it segues into, so how long did before you got back out there and dated again, and then when you got out there, how did you feel?
Oh man, that's good. So probably I met actually my current right now, Miss Carrie.
Miss Carrie.
Yeah, I met her probably towards the end of 2012. Probably like towards the end of 2012, like December of 2012. So now you're talking maybe from April to December. December I met her. We eventually started talking some and talking general conversation. And so I'm like, okay, now I don't know to go any further, but I got a funny story. I shared this with everybody, this story. She was like, babe, will you stop sharing that? We're talking now. Now it's about, she finally beat myself, her, my children, and the a little kid she used to date. So she used to, watch. We go out for lunch. After I talked to her for a while, I got to know her. That's okay. We'll go to lunch together. I let my son meet her, just to meet her because she's pretty cool. So we all go out to Chick-fil-A and, we're eating and talking. And the kids were like, they took to her, like liked her. Both my sons liked her. My daughter hadn't met her yet. And I'm not thinking anything about dating yet, but I'm like, man, they really like her. Like, they didn't seem uncomfortable. Like, hey, who's this lady around us? They were really, so we still talking some more, man. He says to me one day, I got to ask you something. I like, what's up? She said, have you ever dated a white girl before? I knew it was coming. So she said that, right? And I hit it with I got some friends who are black. I said, no. I said, I had white friends. I said, but it never come up. Like, she's okay. I was just wondering. I'm like, why would you wonder that? She said, because not everybody dated, not all black guys dated white guys. Okay, well, I said, we're not dating anyway. So, so we started talking some more, man. And eventually when I started moving towards us, maybe, we started going out a little bit and it started moving. I started moving towards like possibly say becoming a couple one day. It was hard. It was like hard. Like I was pushing it away. I felt guilty. So I would think if anything for us not to go out tonight. Like, oh man, you said you was wearing blue jeans. You got on black jeans. I'm not going. You know, I just continued to push her away because I felt guilty. I have a buddy, I call him Dr. McClure. He used to talk to me all the time. He said to me one night, he said, Khalil, he said, what did Lynette say to me one night on the phone? Me and McClure was on the phone. We talking about something. I can't remember what it was. And my wife at that time, Lynette, she said, let me speak to McClure. She gets the phone. She said, McClure, I just want to let you know that Khalil doesn't get tight with a lot of people. He don't trust a lot of people. So if he start talking to you, kicking it with you, because he trusts you. She said, so what I'm gonna need you to do, this before we knew she was passing away, man. She said, what I'm gonna need you to do, if I pass away, you got to make sure you're always here for him, which is crazy. So he gets back on the phone. She gives me the phone back. He like, yo, bro, I gotta go. I'll talk to you later, because it messed him up. So now I'm going back to McClure and Carrie. So I'm talking to him about. He's like, yo, Khalil. He said, relax. He said, man, what did Lynette say to you that day y'all was in the hospital? You know, so we go over what she said about finding someone. I'm like, yeah, man, but still, man, it's not right. He said, what are you supposed to do? He said, relax, man. Carrie's a nice lady, man. Give her a chance to get to know you better. So it took a long time, man, for me to lose that guilt to start dating again. Like, it took a long, like, it was rough for her. You know, like, I would just think of reason not to say, hey, I'm gonna come over tonight. Like, nope, I don't want to see you. Because I felt guilty. I felt like Lynette was looking at me saying, hey, what are you doing trying to date somebody? You know, because so many crazy things go through your head. So it was real tough for my wife initially. I kept pushing her away. And one day she said to me, she said, I just want to make you and the boy smile again. And when she said that, like, wow. Like, that's like, to me, it was big. Because here it is. She know that I lost a wife. The kids lost a mom. And she's saying, I just want to make you smile again. I want you to be happy. And that was big to me. So, but before that, man, it was rough for her. I would think of reason to like, oh boy, here you go again, drinking iced tea. I don't want to see you today. So, but eventually it worked out, man. We married and still together. I'm still crazy. She's still loving. So the boys love her to death. She means everything to them, and they mean everything to her. We never called her stepmom once we were married. We call her S-mom. The S stand for super, because to come in to take on the family who just lost a wife and lost a mother, and being honest, you know, you're around family members and you're the only white lady. That could be tough. That could be stressful. That could be like, okay, what are people thinking? So it takes a lot to say, I don't care about all that. I like this man. I love his children. Now I love this man. I love his children. Whatever people think, they just think is much bigger than I'm white and he's black. And same thing with her family. Her family love my kids and everybody to death. But initially, it was tough trying to get back out there. I like, nope.
I think there's a message behind it too, man. Like a lot of times, I know, you know, Mo, you could speak on this too, that it's people that we've grown up with that have felt like they wanted to be with someone of a different ethnicity, most to say. But they were always in fear of what family may say, friends may say.
Right.
But they never gave the relationship a chance because of that. And I always tell people you should never turn someone away because of their ethnicity, because that person could be the blessing that God specifically placed in your life to make you a better person, to level you up. So I love hearing stories like that.
Yeah. And specifically, particularly why I asked that question was to show the transitional dynamic of that great loss to a great gain.
Right.
And it was a transitional period. And I think that's important to kind of highlight and point out, because you were diligent and faithful in that loss. And you were preparing best you could for that loss, trying to prepare your children for that loss. And you remained faithful. You know, you didn't, you know, I know you had your issues as a man. I can only imagine some of the stuff that you dealt with in those instances. But because you remained faithful and you stood by your wife's side till the dying day, enter the great comeback. You know what I mean? For that diligence. I think that's important to highlight. And that just goes to show a lesson that we all can learn from that story, is that we as men, we're always supposed to be tough and macho and push through it. But in that, I felt your story, I felt the emotion, I felt the hurt, I felt the pain, the confusion on why is this happening to me? You know, why is this happening to my children? You know, where do we go from here? See, and that story you told, even though it was brief, when we got the short version, I was able to capture all that. And I wanted to highlight when you came back, how you remarried, how that transition happened, and it's actually a great thing. Though the love that was lost ever be missed, you also got a great gain on the other side. So that's why I asked that question.
That's big, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now let's I got a few more questions, man. I kind of want to stay on that. Now that your kids are older, have y'all discussed, the times, the time when they lost their mother? How do they handle it now? Like, what do you see the biggest difference in some of the gains that they've learned through that loss of the mom, and now with their new mother, super mom? Is that what you call them? Is Carrie? So,
Yeah. Man, it's been a blessing, man. They like, of course they think about they have now they're old enough to get tattoos. So they got tattoos with mommy, to her birthday, and they both got tattoos with mommy birthday and like a heart over it. Overall, how they doing mentally, emotionally, they doing fine. Now initially, Amir, because I think at that time he was second grade, he struggled a little bit. He was really Amir's emotional anyway. He's my oldest one. He struggled a little bit in classes. He would get real emotional, and he had a teacher, and I can't remember her name. I went back to look for her. She retired. What she started doing when they were doing lessons in class, she was treating him like a grandmother would. She would bring him up on her lap and just talk to him. And when he had him do the work at the time, talk to him while the kids are doing the work to help him get through his emotions. She would call me, "Hey, Mr. Cole, let you know Amir had an emotional day today." So he struggled some initially, but they had such a strong say, lack of a better term or cliche village. I think that was helpful. So, they had me, of course, and I was there every bit of the way. Then my late white siblings, they're local. So Aunt Janice has always been the mother of their family when everybody was living. So, they had Aunt Janice and Uncle Scott, Uncle Dwayne. So they had a good village around them. I think that was very helpful also. So over the years, man, they haven't struggled. Now we'll have a conversation about mommy. 3 months ago, she was inducted into the Appalachian State University Hall of Fame for track. So we went up there. They had a big ceremony. We talked to her old coach who's now in a wheelchair. He came over. He talked to the boys about how great she was. Overall, man, they've done well. The biggest thing, we used to go out to the grave site. One day they told me they no longer wanted to go out there. So I said, they were younger then. I said, okay. I said, well, why not? And Amir said, Dad, every time we come out here, we end up sad. I said, okay. He said, I don't want to come out here and be sad. And I thought that was iconic. Like for a kid to be able to say, hey, articulate his feelings to me, say, whenever we come out here, we're sad and we don't want to be sad. Mommy he said, mommy know we love her. She love her. She's our guardian angel. We've always called her the guardian angel. She's our guardian angel and she know we love her. But whenever I'm out here, I get sad thinking that mommy's in the ground.
wow.
I said, okay, but with that, we won't go until you're ready to go. But other than that, man, they really doing well, man. It's a blessing. They doing well. And again, my wife, she stepped in and she's been great with them. She's been understanding. She was nervous, like, I don't know how much to do and all that. It's been great. Matter of fact, when I told them I'm going to come to do this at the 8, it's okay, have fun. We going bowling. So, but they have a great relationship, man, with it. They're really doing well. They're doing really well.
I remember when they were little, man.
Yeah. Now my youngest son, that joke about 6 foot. I'm like, boy, you got that from Papa. My grandfather was 6'6". Amir is so kind of short, but yeah, man, everybody they doing really well, man.
That's good. That's good. Coach K, what would be 3 pointers you would give to men that are about to become a father, or that are already fathers, or men who are about to become fathers? Like,
man, it depends on the age of the children. Woo, man. But now my son, they're the age now, man. I gotta keep more conversations than I had before. But I would say, man, I would probably 3 points I would give men that are becoming fathers. One, I would say, is a beautiful thing. Make sure you can teach your sons or your children as many positive life lessons as possible. Man, so much I would tell them. Be patient and understand that at one point you were that person, you were that age. I would tell men to boys, stop telling little boys to man up. They can't man up. I speak about this a lot, about the male thing. Don't teach your boy the boys don't cry. That's no good. Because boys who don't cry take that emotion, turn it to anger. Teach your children lessons that's going to be beneficial for them. And even when they're not getting it, keep planting the seed. And I say this to people, man, when I go speak at the conferences. You can't get tired of parenting, even when you think you're getting tired. I'm tired of telling you the same thing. Well, you just got to be tired. You got to keep doing it. because they're still learning. I know I said a lot of things, but I think those are some key areas, man. We got to continue to teach our children, continue to be patient with them, teach our boys it's okay to be human. You know, like you said, you're not Iron Man. You know, you don't have all the high expectations that people put on men sometimes. And I got to tell you, I share this when I go speak at these conferences. The song, I can't remember, you know, the little childhood songs, what are little girls made of? Cinnamon, spice, and everything nice. That's what little girls are made of. And then you sing the boys part. What are little boys made of? Snigs and snails and puppy dog tails. Like we're taught right from the beginning, we're made of nothing nice. We made of snigs, we made of snails, we made of puppy dog tails. Who came up with that story? So I think it's very important that we're patient as fathers, as parents, continue to teach the lessons they need to learn. Be willing to admit when we make a mistake. I think that's really important, man. Be willing to apologize to your child. Just my opinion. And I can share a quick story.
Yeah.
My son Amir, who goes to Methodist, he pledged. So in the process of pledging, you know, they got before the pledging, they got all this prep stuff. So he out, you know, they got him doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And one night he's out to like 2 a.m. doing this little crazy pre-pledging stuff. So he come home, man, and I lose it on him because I'm nervous. I'm scared. I always tell him, when you're not here at the house, me and Miss Carrie are worried. You know, we're worried. Like, okay, what's going on out there? People acting foolish. So we come home and we're but pull that up for me. For y'all be trying to listen to my podcast, they just came off from Bolo. Love you. Yeah. So we come home, man. I'm going off about, you know, being out all night doing that little stuff. And then as a matter of fact, man, just go to bed, man. Just go to bed. We'll talk about it tomorrow. So the next day, he said, Dad, he said, can I talk to you? I'm like, yeah, you can talk to me, man. I always tell him, you got something in your mind, we can talk. He says, all right, I just want to tell you that I think like last night you was very aggressive and it hurt me how you came off or something. He said, you even use profanity, Dad. You don't even use profanity. He said, it really hurt me the way you came off on me. And I thought about it. I'm like, damn, he's right. It made me emotional, man, for real. I'm like, yo, I apologize, man. Because I should have had more control than I showed. I said, like, I'm more thinking about control. So I say that to say, you know, we got to be willing to say, hey, I made a mistake, son. I made a mistake, daughter. My bad. I'm going to fix that. And I think that teaches our children it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay not to be perfect. You know, we all continue to learn every day. I'm still learning. All those things, some of the things I would tell a father. But the main thing would be present and be productive. You know, don't just be present. Don't just be sitting in the living room. I'm here. Nah, be productive with your children. Man. They needed to be productive with them. Yeah. You know, so those are some of the things I'm saying, man.
Right. That hit home. I was reading a book today. I'm reading this book this month. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Tony Evans. He's a pastor. He's a minister. But it was something he's saying in there. It's about fathers. He was saying, fathers, just make sure that you don't have to be perfect, but be consistent. And that really resonated with me. I was like, man, yeah, because there's going to be times, just like you said, where the children are going to feel just like we feel. You know, we can't expect them to be perfect if we're not perfect. But as long as we consistent, and that, I appreciate those points right there. You hit the nail on the head with that one. Mo, you got go ahead.
We have the most, and it's something how like your conversations change as they get older. You know, when they're younger, you have like some basic stuff. Then one day the conversation come down, you having a conversation about sex. It's like, oh man, this is crazy. You know, and you're trying to teach them the right thing. You know, what I learned from my uncle helped. I moved in with my uncle. My mom, we were homeless, and his birds and bees conversation was, if it's there, get it.
Wow,
that's it. If it's there, get it. What does that mean? You know, growing up as a teenager, like, okay, I'm gonna try to get it. You know, that was his. So me talking to my sons, like, listen, man, you don't have to be out here wearing your body down, but if you decide you have to, you need to use protection. Yeah. If you're dating someone, show that young lady respect, but you deserve as much as respect as she deserves. So don't be dating someone and say, oh, she get all the respect and you don't because you're a young man. I always tell him he's a young man in training, both of them. Dad, I just turned 18, I just turned 20. You're still a young man in training. You're not a man yet. Yeah. So the conversation changes as they get older. My daughter, the conversation always been about the same. Okay, sweetie, you know, if you're dating someone, I need to meet them, see how they are, make sure they treat you nice, make sure you treat them nice, you know, and I guess traditionally you don't think, well, now females have changed. Females not gonna be the aggressors. Men or the young men tend to still be the aggressors in relationships. So I'm telling, like, yo, if you decide you have to do something, use protection. Treat her with respect, but you deserve much respect. So the conversation changed. When they were 10, it was like, yo, next time you run the ball, go left, go right. Okay, we can go see you can get you the PS5. Now it's totally different, man. It's life conversations for real.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree to a question in because Mo got a daughter, I got a son, you got both. Which one is harder? Which one was the most challenging to raise? The boys or the girls?
Okay, challenge as far as the lessons, I would say the boys only because both now, and I don't. Everybody said my children are great, but my children have been great, man. I told my wife that we have family texts, and I just randomly texted today. I'm like, we are so fortunate. Like the boys have been. I try to get in the habit now calling them young men. Young men have been great. Like they like to hang out a little bit with their friends. They like to go bowling. Or they like to go to a little bit partying. We don't let them go to house parties. But overall they've been great, man. Academically they've been great. And I'm not trying to brag. Like my son Najee, who just graduated out of a class of 303, he finished 9th in the class. We got a lot of money to go to school. So they've been great children, but they're still children. But the toughest to raise, say with the lesson trying to give now will have to be, I would say my sons. For one, I had joint custody of my daughter, so she wasn't with me every single night as she's 17, 18, 19. I would talk to her on the phone, but she wasn't with me every night. The conversation been tough with the boys because now they hanging out more, when the young men are out, more aggression happen with young men. So when you hear about, say, shootings at night, you don't hear about little girls shooting or young ladies. You hear about boys shooting, boys fighting. So it's been tougher in the sense of me teaching them the lessons and them taking it and understanding what I mean. Like, my big thing, you guys heard it, keep your head on a swivel. If foolishness start happening, you're out of there. If somebody's riding with you, they're left if they don't want to go. So those conversations been tough because I'm constantly having them. Like, yo, man, if you out and about, you guys need to text and say, hey, we had BB Lanes. We about to go shoot over to, I don't know, Burger King, get a burger. We want that text. Because there's so much happening. So it's been tougher with them, just the fact that when I'm trying to give them the lessons, they don't really understand it yet. And I tell them often that dads are protectors. No matter how much we love you, I still kiss my sons. We got special handshakes. I still grab them and kiss them. I love you every single day. I tell my sons I love them every single day. And I still tell them, but I'm still your protector. And that's how fathers see it. And we was talking one night, and I said to them, if we was at a place and somebody pulled out a gun and they was about to shoot you, Dad, I said myself, I'm gonna jump in front of the bullet because it's my job to protect you. I said that's just natural. I'm gonna jump in front of the bullet. I said replay that, and somebody going to shoot me. I said you guys would not jump in front of the bullet to protect me because it's not your job to. You might scream, Dad, but you would not jump in front of that bullet because you have not been raised yet to protect your father. Fathers are raised to protect their children. Somewhere along the line, I don't know if it just is in the air. I said, so with me being a protector, man, I'm always worried about when you guys are out, when we can't contact you. So the toughest part probably been them. They're trying to give them the men lessons that they don't quite get yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Right.
good.
I think I got one more question for you. With all of the things that you've been through, or that your family has been through, I know you said you had the boxing gym. So with all the stuff again that you went through with your own family, your own kids, transitioning and still having to raise them and all that stuff, where do you get the energy and the motivation to mentor other kids?
I think it's just part of my calling. I love doing it, man.
Right.
I love sharing lessons with the young people. Like, I have so many people who come to me. I just been doing it for so long. I love doing it. Like it's part of and I joke with my sons. I say, I'm not going to give people more than what I give you guys. But there's so many people just who gravitate towards me. So, I have in our school, I'm a school social worker. I don't know if I mentioned to you, when they have a problem with young men, a lot of times before they try to suspend them, they say, yo, send them to Mr. Shakeel. He's the young man guy. Let's send him to him first, see if he can handle them. I have teachers who say, hey, Mr. Shakeel, I have a problem with James. He keeps skipping. I'm not going to call the administrators. I'm going to send him to you. So it's just something that I do. I love doing it. I've been doing it for so long. I was talking to somebody the other day about the young men, like doing something in Fayetteville for the young men. And I said to them, well, for one, you guys having these meetings, you calling the wrong people to the meetings.
Yeah.
I said, and not saying I have to be called to the meeting, but I'm one you should probably think about calling to the meetings. I have kids who walk in my facility who have ankle braces on for being on house arrest. And when they start training with me, they're saying they're responsible. Yes, sir. No, sir. I understand, sir. Yo, you just cussing that while we in here training? My bad, sir. Sorry about that, coach. I said they leave out. And when they're around all you guys, they back to who they used to be. And when they come in with me, they understand now coach is not playing that. And part of that's been, I think, too, because I have other pods of men in there. So you're training next to a guy who's in special forces who just down there shooting bullets at people. So you're around these other men who are doing things positive. And I think sometimes it helps with the environment. But I just had the energy, man. I just love doing it.
So
Right.
I love serving. I say I'm serving for the young people. I love serving the young people. Sometimes adults get on my nerves. I love serving young people, even when they act like knuckleheads because they don't know yet. And I love my dog. My dog does everything he's supposed to. But
Right.
adults do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's
crazy stuff.
amazing. That's amazing. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Share us some of the. I know you've written a couple of books, Coach Khalil.
Mhm.
Share with the audience some of the books that you've written, and how can they get some of those books?
Okay, well, I did the breast cancer book. She did all she could. Now what I'm about to do? I think I'm going through a new thing with Amazon where they can get it back out. I'm thinking about just rewriting it some and saying this is what I'm doing now and include my current wife in our life now. My other book I have out there is The Better Male, Men Are Learned Early. That's on Amazon. I'm working on that was volume 1. I'm working on volume 2 now. But what that book is about, Men Are Learned Early, it talks about all the things we're learning as we're growing up that's incorrect, just to find out later on that we need to relearn them.
Oof.
So, the thing I said about boys don't cry. Boys don't, snitches get stitches and end up in ditches. And I tell people that started with stop being the tattletale.
Yeah.
The little boy telling somebody, well, you better stop being the tattletale. Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
So the book talks about all the lessons we learn, man, that's incorrect and that we had to relearn them. And I talk about things in there. Some of the chapters like environment is everything. I talk about how your environment affects you. Habits don't lie. The one in the mirror, that's a chapter about, you looking into yourself. It's about 9 other chapters. They're really good. It's been doing well. People read it and say, man, I love this book. Especially it's for men and say teenagers. The men, a lot of the men who read it get a better impact and understanding of it. So for a lot of younger guys, even my sons, it's like planting the seeds. I talk to them all the time anyway. My son calls it the aroma of a speech. For younger guys, it's more like planting the seeds. I have older guys who read it, real adults who are reading, come back to me and say, yo, man, that book was powerful. I can see where I was at and where I'm trying to go. But it's on Amazon right now. And I'm working on volume 2. I'm hoping to release volume 2 in July, because that's my birthday. And it's gonna be it's like it's a continuation of that one or the first one, but this one goes more. I think this one will be better because when I did the first one I did off a mentor program. I had a mentor program back when I'm sorry for talking so much. I had a mentor program back in when I worked at Eastman High School. It was called A Better Male. Somebody just created, and I had these different little things in there. Habits don't lie. Something about environment and some other little areas and talk about character. And then last summer we sitting around and I said, I'm gonna turn that into a book. I had my sons read little chapters of it during the summer. I said, I'm gonna turn it into a book. My wife's like, what? I said, my Better Male book. She said, when? I said, I'm gonna finish by the summer is over. I started in June. I finished. I released it in August. I released it on my late wife's birthday on purpose. I wanted to release that book on her birthday. So it's kind of like, I'm gonna say rushed, but it was kind of like it wasn't as in depth as I wanted it to be because I wanted to release it in August. This one's a little more in depth, and it kind of just follows off of what I was talking about. But basically, it's about men are learned early. When we get older, we got to relearn some things. And for the longest, we know this. It wasn't cool for a man to cry.
Right.
Now a man can cry. People understand. Like, oh, okay, men couldn't even talk about mental health at one time. Now a man can talk about mental health, and he's okay with that discussion.
Yeah.
So we had to relearn those things. That's what the book is about. Men are learned early.
Awesome. I'm gonna put all this information in the show notes, y'all. So make sure you go out. I'm gonna put those links below how to get Coach Khalil's books, all his contact information, and all the other endeavors that he has. Any last minute words you want to give the audience, Coach Khalil, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. For one, I'm happy again to be here to share my story. I guess I'll get the audience just keep trying to be a better you. And I don't mean that in the sense of, oh, that's so cute and catchy. I mean it. Every day, man, we just gotta try to be a little better, do a little better. Don't stop learning. Don't think you know it all. And it's okay if you find you a mentor. And I say this in the book. I spell mentor mentor, because a tour someone's taking you someplace. So it's okay to find a mentor who could take you someplace. I think it's very important for everyone, but especially men. So even at 45, you can have a mentor and be like, oh man, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it's helpful for men to be able to have that, for men to be able to get together and have some conversations about some stuff. It's okay to get together with your buddy, like, yo, don't do that. That's stupid. You know what I'm saying? Don't mess up your family over a quickie. I think men need these conversations with each other. Yeah. I think it'd be helpful. So again, just try to be a better you. each day. No one's perfect. We know that. You can just try to keep getting better.
That's
So.
deep, man. That's deep. Mo, last minute. Any last words?
Yeah, I just want to thank Coach K again for coming on. Very amazing, compelling story, inspirational. We laughed, we definitely cried, and we learned some perspective on how to overcome some significant challenges. So I appreciate you being on, and as always, to onlookers, man, any way that me and Juan can. The goal here is to try to inform. It's a space for everyday average people. You know, sometimes we don't see enough of us. People who are out in the world who are making this thing work. You got the right, you got the left, you got everything in between, you got all the crazy stuff in the entertainment world. And we sometimes forget the human element. And that's what this podcast is about, is connecting with people and hearing their story. And again, Coach K, we appreciate you being on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, Coach K, I can't thank you enough, man. Mo said it for us, man. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story. Man, this was healing for me, and I really appreciate you being vulnerable. I hope our audience took something from this. I know without a doubt, this is probably by far, Mo, you agree, by far the best episode we probably recorded, man. And we give that all to you. Thank you so much. We would love to have you back on again if you're willing to come back on. Mm-hmm. And we want to bring you on with the new wife, Miss Carrie, and y'all share your new story and journey.
All right.
So I know it's going to be a good one right there as well, too.
Gotta be careful, though. She's goofy.
We appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, Coach K. I'm gonna put all your information in the show notes. To the audience out there, to all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day once again from the Jam Podcast. And like we always say, stay fit, fix your finances, and keep the faith.
Strike a pose.
Strike a pose. We'll see y'all next time.
Thanks, man.